Hello, vinyl fans. Welcome to another episode of Let's Clean a Record. I am your cleaning guy. Today we're going to do a little bit of an experiment. We want to test out LAST. LAST is an acronym for Liquid Archival Sound Treatment. This product has been around a very long time. In fact, I acquired this one, as best I can recall, in the late 1980s. But according to the manufacturer, it never goes bad, so we'll put that to the test today. The idea behind the product is that it's intended to reduce the surface free energy when the actual stylus goes through the groove. It can create shock waves, which, according to LAST, can fracture tiny, and I mean microscopically tiny little pieces, cone-shaped pieces of the vinyl, and actually almost weld them to the sides of your groove. If you check out their website, they'll have pictures using an electronic scanning microscope of records that have been played many hundreds of times with and without that treatment. We cannot speak to its ability to prevent that sort of fracturing. What we want to test today is, does it impact the sound? Does it help? Does it hurt? Does it make any difference whatsoever? So the plan is to get a record that we know well, that is a very high quality audiophile kind of recording, one that utilizes real acoustic instruments recorded in real time, where we have silent passages and long sustained notes so that we can really hear any potential differences. The record we chose for this little experiment of ours, Mingus times 5. This is a wonderful record. I highly recommend it. It's akin to a greatest hits collection, but it's not like most greatest hits records where they take the actual recordings from previous albums and compile them. He re-recorded with his current band. This was released in 1963, so with that band, they re-recorded some of his favorite tunes from the previous 10 years or so. You'll listen to the first song on side A and say, geez, that sounds like Haitian Fight Song from 1957's The Clown. And it is, but they've given it a completely different name. Wonderful recording, very high quality pressing. This is from Analog Productions. Chad Kassim did this. Of course, he has just put out another beautiful one here. And this is the 45 RPM version. So I think this will serve us well for our little experiment, and we'll make sure that we do it as scientifically as possible. We'll talk more about that later, but let's get to it. Let's get to cleaning and then treating this record. Okay, fellas, the process that we're going to take to clean this brand new record is the full Kermes restoration process. We've filled the tank with distilled water. We've degassed it. We also included 40 milliliters of 70% isopropyl alcohol, and we degassed it several times. So this is ready to go. We have our goat hair brush, which we'll use to apply the compound. This is basically 99% distilled water, 1% ethanol glycol. Ethylene glycol. This is what renders the static charge on the vinyl opposite from that which is in the tank. That's the key to the Kermes process. For a new record, the best process that we know of to get it as squeaky clean as we possibly can, which is something you want to do before you would ever apply a treatment like LAST, is to first give it a 3-minute cycle in the tank with no compound applied. We'll then go through 4 2-minute cycles, applying the compound each time, and then we'll go through one final 5-minute cycle also with the compound. At that point, we're going to have about as clean a record as you can possibly get. We'll give it a listen at that point, go through the exact same procedure that we will afterwards, meaning I'll give the system, let's say 30 minutes to warm up. We'll play a couple of other records to make sure that the cantilever is nice and warmed up. We'll clean the stylus, and then we'll give it a listen. After we do that, we'll apply the last treatment. Then we're going to wait 24 hours and listen to it again, going through the exact same procedure. So that's the plan. We have everything ready to go. Everything's clean. Let's get to it. Let's clean this record. Okay, first step is to hit it with this carbon fiber brush. Now we're going to go with no compound applied, 3-minute cycle. By the way, the number of cycles that you utilize in the Kermes process is dependent upon the age of the record, the type of dirt, how much dirt, and so on and so forth. what we're doing today is the best approach we think for a brand new record. Start off with a 3-minute cycle and no compound, and then several shorter cycles with the compound. Okay, end of our first cycle. You want to wiggle, jiggle any water droplets off there. And actually, we recommend taking a good microfiber cloth, like the little bunny here, and dabbing up any excess water. We don't want to further dilute the compound, so just a quick dab of anywhere you see water, both sides, like right there. Not a lot of beading here, which tells us this is not a dirty record. Obviously, it's brand new. All right. Now we will apply the compound. 3 sprays. I like to, by the way, the goat hair brush is nice and clean, and I like to sort of cinch up on it a little bit for the first few times around. And then reverse direction. And then one, just like that. Have it. Now back into the ultrasonic for our first 2-minute cycle. Right. By the way, you may have noticed that we will clean that goat hair brush with distilled water between each cycle. That's important. And recommend using a bottle like this where the color of the bottle will block UV rays. Just dabbing up any excess water so as not to dilute our compound any further than it already is. Okay, treatment number 2. Is this a little obsessive for a brand new record? The answer is yes. However,
it's Mingus.
Well, number 1, it's Mingus. Very good point. Secondly, if we're going to test any audible leftovers, if you will, from a last treatment, I want to make sure it's as clean as I can possibly get it. And this is the process that we know of that will best clean a new record. Okay, there we go. Into the second 2-minute cycle. just like to point out that this process is not about scrubbing or actually cleaning the vinyl. It's about spreading the compound evenly so that we have maximum cavitation, as deep into the groove as we possibly can get. And that's what allows this to happen by virtue of opposite static electricity charges. That is to say, I'm not pressing very hard here. Just trying to make sure we have even and complete coverage. Looking good, but we're going to do one final 5-minute cycle with the compound. Okay, that was our final ultrasonic cycle, but we're not quite done yet. Last thing we need to do, first want to use this optician's cloth to remove any remaining water droplets. There are very few here, that's a good sign. We're going to take this side of the brush. This is an extremely fine brush that's used to polish the groove. Like so. I was skeptical about this step when I first acquired the Kermis machine, and I tell you, I do think it makes a difference. Two. Excellent. And just one last step. We're going to use the second goat hair brush and apply an ever so slightly thin layer of the compound just to render any static that might have been built up through the brushing process neutral. And then lastly, we'll put it into a fresh inner sleeve, one that's designed to keep static out. So the way I like to do this is just to put it in the air. You can also do this while the record is on the turntable itself. That's a perfectly acceptable way to do it. By the way, the inner sleeves that come with Analog Productions pressings are of excellent quality, and I doubt there's any real dirt in there, but just to be extra sure, we are going to use a new one. These sleeves are from Kermis, very good quality. Okay, let's go give this a listen, and then we'll apply the last treatment. All right, fellas. Well, we just listened to side A, and oh my goodness, was it glorious.
Oh my gosh, wasn't it?
It was really nice. This is just beautiful music. I will say as a side note that we did listen to this record before we cleaned it, and it definitely sounded better afterwards, which is to say, yes, I think you should clean new vinyl. Now, I absolutely would not go through the complete Kermis restoration process with every new record that I buy, not at all. But it did make a difference. That said, once we listened to it and we were getting ready to apply the last treatment, it occurred to me that there is at least a theoretical argument that the act of playing the record post-cleaning, dragging the stylus through the groove, in effect further cleans it, may dislodge additional particles that the cleaning process didn't get to. I doubt it with this one, but just to eliminate any possibility, we've decided to alter our original plan and clean the record one more time before we give it our final listen before applying the last treatment. Now, we're not going to go through the entire process again. We're just going to do one more 5-minute bath. I think we'll do it. And we will hit it with the compound before we do that. Okay, fellas, well, it is the next day, and I'm really glad we took that extra step of giving this record one more clean before we listened to it critically. Glorious music as always. I do think there is something to be said about having one playthrough and then one final rinse if you're going to be really neurotic about this stuff. And really, I wanted to give every benefit of the doubt to the last treatment and eliminate as many variables as possible. So we've just done our listening. We noted how we warmed up the system and which records we used to warm up the cartridge. So we'll do the same practice tomorrow after we apply the last treatment, which is what we're going to do now. So let's get to that. Let's make sure this applicator is clean. And interestingly, as I mentioned earlier, this is a very old box of Last. I never used this one. They come with two applicators, and this one is a virgin, so to speak. So there you are. The directions call. By the way, we don't have much left, but we have enough for this treatment. The directions call for about 1 inch or so in the medicine dropper, and then the idea is you apply it evenly along the pad and take it around. One of the ways that you can do this, of course, is on the turntable while it's spinning. We're going to do this here, but either way will work. That's a little more than we need, but that's okay. I want to make sure it's evenly applied. There we go. Now, according to the manufacturer, you do not have to wait for this to dry. You can play it right away. But since we just played this record, we are going to wait until tomorrow. This is a 3-day shoot for us. There we go. We'll set that aside for now. Okay, fellas. We will see you tomorrow after we've listened to the album side one more time with the last treatment. We'll let you know what we think then. Fellas, it is several days later before we get to these final thoughts. And I got to tell you, my mind's been blown. The ridiculous extent that we went to clean this record and to try to eliminate any variables so that we could really determine if the last treatment makes any difference. I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting to hear much of a difference at all, but boy, that wasn't the case. Absolutely, there is a difference. And it was so shockingly different, I said, I don't know, maybe I did something wrong. So we actually cleaned a few more. Freddie Hubbard, great album. Didn't go through the complete craziness of steps we did with Mingus. Basically, for this record and a few others, we dropped it into the KL audio machine, gave it a listen, just one side, applied the last treatment, and listened again. Immediately, I heard what I was hearing with the Mingus. Ditto for the Yes album, and especially true for this one. This really drove it home for me. Really understood what differences that I was hearing. And I admit, at first I wondered, is there some softening of the initial transient attack, like a plectrum on a guitar string? At first I thought it sounds a bit softer, and I wondered if that's what I was hearing. But it soon became apparent that what I was really hearing was a better separation of the notes. And it was particularly evident with the flourishes of notes played on the piano on this record. It separated those notes far more clearly. It was not only evident when you closed your eyes and listened critically in the dark, you could be in the next room and it was just clear as day that this was a superior sound. It's better, guys. I know some of you don't believe that. I've seen lots of arguments online back and forth about whether last treatment improves the sound or not, but I gotta tell you, on every one of these records, for me, for our ears in this room, it absolutely improved it. And it wasn't subtle at all. I would also say that the images within the soundstage were clearer. They were more precisely presented. Not so much that it became overly hi-fi where you get those laser sharp images. It was still very natural sounding, but the biggest improvement was clarity of the various frequencies that were being played. That's the best way I can put it. And I really liked it. So I did not expect to, frankly. I thought, we clean these records so well, that's the best sound that you're going to get. And it just wasn't the case. So I am a fan of Last. I will be acquiring their largest container because it's not inexpensive. I think if you get the biggest quantity based on the number of record size that you get out of an ounce of Last, probably paying around 60 cents a record. That's my estimate. I think it's worth it. So, yeah, wow. I'm absolutely blown away by this. I did not expect to come to this conclusion, but there you are. That's what my ears told me. So, a Last fan. See you at the next record.